Hi everyone, it's Alexa. Welcome back to Law. Today we're going to do some review over the hardest questions in our opinions from the practice test that you guys were supposed to do last week. If you haven't done that, please do. It's going to be the best way to practice for this test that is going to come up eventually. Have it printed out in front of you if you can. If not, have it on a screen next to you. I'm going to be referring back to lines, and I want you guys to be really interactive with this. So that you guys can know how to answer these specific questions. We're going to go over reading questions today, so let's get started. So the first passage that we're going to go over is passage 2, 5 reasons physical books might be better than ebooks. It's on page 60 to 61, so go there right now and look at the passage. We already see in the title, 5 reasons physical books might be better than ebooks, so we already know what it's about. We already know that they're going to lay out the reasons. And the nice thing about this passage is that they do titles for each one. So if you are looking for something specific when you're answering the questions, you can just go back to the titles. When I read passages on a test, I like to just kind of have an overall understanding of the structure of how things go. And for this one, it's a little introduction about like the thesis. And then they have, under each reasoning, they have evidence from a study and kind of explanation at the end. So we understand the structure, we underlined the important things, and now we're going to go back to the text and use process of elimination and really crack down on these test-taking strategies. So the first question we're going to go over is question 28. Find it. Hopefully you already did all of these, but let's go over it together. What is the best summary of the research into the effects of ebook reading? So in the question, you want to think right away. Okay, summary of research. So it's something about the evidence, right? And then effects of ebook reading. So we're looking for specifically those, and we're going to use evidence from the text to support every answer quickly going back to the text. For this first one, why don't we use process of elimination just to get the hang of it? Choice E says ebooks are disliked by college students and preferred by kids, and their interactive features are distracting. So it doesn't, is that talking about the effects? It's more talking about the opinions by students and kids and stuff like that. So it's not really, it has nothing to do with the research really. It's about more of like a poll. Choice F, some ebooks can aid comprehension, but most ebook readers remember few details. Again, is that the research into the effect of ebooks reading? It doesn't really talk about the effects at all. Choice G, ebooks reduce reading comprehension and increase distraction, and they are tiring for the eyes and the brains. So we remember back from the text how it was all about kind of like the negative effects. So this could definitely be the answer. And then choice H, enhanced ebooks engage children, but offer too many opportunities to be distracted by non-reading activities. So again, is this talking about like the specific effects of ebooks? Not really. So through process of elimination, we could probably find that the answer is choice G, but we have to find evidence, right, to make sure that we're correct. Here's some evidence that I found, so go back to the text and find your own, maybe right now underline it. But in paragraph 2, it says students who read on iPads had lower reading comprehension than when they read traditional printed books. So that talks about comprehension, which is in the answer choice G. In the third paragraph, it explains that enhanced ebook reading may be distracting. So we have reading comprehension from choice G, we have distracting right in the passage. So we're finding those evidences, and then we're super confident that choice G is the answer. In paragraph 6, it says staring at a lit screen can be tiring for the eyes and brains. So boom, we have evidence for reading comprehension, reducing reading comprehension, increasing distraction, and tiring. So the answer choice is G, confidently. Okay, the next question we're going to go over is question 31, so find it. 31 says, which sentence from the passage best reveals the author's point of view about ebooks? So just like in the last question, we found what we're looking for right away. Let's do it again here. It says the author's point of view about ebooks. So if you read the title and the entire article, pretty much it's a negative point of view. We can come to that conclusion. So we want to find the answer choice that specifically says this kind of negative point of view, and we want the author's opinion specifically. Choice A, while scientists are still trying to tease out exactly how digital reading affects us differently, here are 5 ways ebooks might be inferior to their dead tree cousins. So dead tree cousins are paper. So here it does talk about kind of the author is laying out 5 reasons. And so this is the author's point of view, and it's saying that they're inferior, which we already kind of determined was going to be her opinion. So this could be the answer. Let's look at the other ones though. Choice B, while ebook textbooks are often cheaper than traditional doorstep textbooks, college students often don't prefer them. So whose opinion is that? College students. It's not the author's. So everything has to be the author's point of view. Choice C, for instance, reading an ebook on a computer is a much different experience than reading on a Kindle, which is specifically designed for consuming books. So is that an opinion? No, it's just saying that it's a different experience, and both are actually ebooks, because reading on a Kindle is kind of like an iPad. Choice D, so 2 is playing with an interactive ebook on an iPad compared to using a simpler ebook device that only presents the text with no opportunities to click away into digital distractions. So here it's talking about ebooks and comparing ebook to ebook. And so A is the most general opinion that the author gives, because it's saying, here is what I think they're inferior, and I'm going to lay out reasons why. So the choice is A. Okay, passage 3 is called Snowy Mountains. So flip or scroll to page 64. It is a poem, and I know that we did go over this, but it was a while ago. So with poetry, sometimes people are really good at it, sometimes they're bad. It just depends on the person. So what we really want to do is use evidence from the text, and also process of elimination is really going to help us, because maybe we don't understand exactly what the poem is saying, but we can still figure out what the question is saying and the answer that would make the most sense. So make sure you're there. So the first question we're going to go over is question 35, so find that. How does the poet develop the speaker's point of view in the second stanza, lines 8 through 14? So it tells you it's lines 8 through 14, but if you guys remember, stanza is kind of the equivalent to a paragraph in a poem. And so when we see this question, remember, always go back to the text. I would look at the second stanza again and skim through it and kind of summarize it in my head. Poetry, it's kind of hard to do that, but then we're going to look through all the answer choices and hopefully it's more clear. So choice A says, by describing images of the mountain's awe-inspiring size and strength. So here it doesn't really talk about the mountain's size and or strength. If we look at some of the descriptive words, the tunnels, they're granite cliffs, it's down on the shining sides, and then it talks about cliffs again. It doesn't really even talk about like mountains, especially not their size and strength. So that's an easy one to eliminate. Choice B, by illustrating the differences among the various ways humans can affect the natural environment. So here it also doesn't really say anything about differences. They just pretty much say the world makes war on them. Tunnels, their granite cliffs, splits down their shining side. So it's just talking about how the world and humans are kind of doing bad things to nature and our environment, but it doesn't really talk about the differences between them. Also with choice B, it's talking about the speaker's point of view. And so the point of view of a speaker and an opinion of a speaker wouldn't really be talking about the differences between things as much. That doesn't really show a strong point of view. And so this question also, this answer choice, sorry, for choice B doesn't really make sense as an answer to this specific question. So choice C, it says, by criticizing society for taking careless, harmful courses of action against nature. So here we see the word by criticizing. So the poet develops her speaker's point of view by criticizing something. That makes a lot of sense, right? Because that's something that is a personal opinion. So let's find evidence for choice C, because we know that it sounds correct. So it says, the world heeds them not. They have been here now for too long. Tunnels their granite cliffs, splits down their shining sides, plasters their cliffs with soap advertisements, destroys the lonely fragments of their peace. So for me, the strongest piece of evidence is destroys. And we're talking about all of these things that the world has done. But obviously, if you're putting up soap advertisements and you're destroying mountains, it's usually coming from humans. And so destroy is a very strong word, and we can use that to understand that that's like a criticism. For example, if someone says, they are destroying my life, that's a criticism. That's not like just a fact or like objective, that's a very like personal criticism against someone. It has a negative, very strong negative connotation. So that's our evidence for choice C. Choice D says by demonstrating how the mountains and the people are able to benefit from each other. So we just said that the people are destroying the earth with that specific strong word, and so we can get rid of that. So C has a lot of evidence. I hope you guys kind of see how process of elimination can help us, because when you first look at this poem, maybe the words are kind of confusing or the message isn't really understood right away. But for these type of questions that give you a specific part of the text to look at, process of elimination can really help you guys with that. Okay, the next question we're going to go over is question 37. It says, which detail from the poem reflects the speaker's view that people often fail to appreciate what is familiar? So here, when we look at the question, we're going to see speaker's view and people failing to appreciate what is familiar. So that is a very key word. When something is familiar, it's like we're used to it and we see it often. So you guys are familiar with your teachers if you go to school every day because you see them every day. And it's a routine thing. Nothing out of the ordinary per se. So these all of the answer choices have lines, so it's important to go back to the text, but we can use some critical thinking to try to, eliminate some answer choices. So choice A, the mountains from the Great Plateau. So that's descriptive, so that's not going to be our number one suspected answer when we look at them. It's not about the speaker's view or about something that's too familiar. Choice B, they have been here now for too long a time. So that does kind of have to do with something that's too familiar. That does have to do with something that's too familiar because they have been here for now too long a time. It's talking about a time period where something has been the same. Choice C, splits down on those shining sides. That's also descriptive. And then choice D, to which the future is as was the past. So that kind of is like a very poetic line that doesn't really make sense out of context. So here we want to go back and look at all of the answer choices. I'm just going to show you how I looked back on answer choice B though. So answer choice B is in the second stanza, the same one we used for the last question. So we're going to read the sentence before and after it. So lines 8 through 10. Okay, so, but the world heeds them not. They have been here now for too long a time. The world makes war on them. So right before, they use the word heeds, which we don't need to know what it means to answer the question. It does mean, heeds means pay attention to. So if we knew that, that would kind of give us a really good hint. But if we don't, that's also totally okay. I didn't know what that word meant until I looked it up before this. But what we can see is that it's talking about nature and how the world doesn't do something to them if we don't know what the word heeds means, and that they have been here for too long a time, and so the world makes war of them. So if someone's making war on something, do you think that they're appreciating it? No. And it says that it's been here for too long a time. So something has been here for too long a time, and then someone's committing war on them, you can kind of assume that they're failing to appreciate what is familiar. And not only failing to appreciate it, but actually ruining it. So the answer choice is B. If that wasn't super clear, I really recommend looking at every single one of the answer choices and reading the context and see if it makes sense for the key points of the questions. Okay, the next question we're going to go over is question 40. So find it and look at your answer. So it says, read lines 23 through 26 of the poem. The mountains swing along the south horizon of the sky, welcoming with wide floors of blue-green ice, the mists that dance and drive before the sun. And then it asks, the personification in these concluding lines of the poem suggests that the mountains are. So if you guys don't remember, personification is when an author writes about an object, something that's not alive, and as if it were alive. So if I were to say, this pen is dancing right now, like pens don't dance, right? But that's kind of a way to describe it, like it's a real person. Okay, so choice E, gracious hosts who are untroubled by the actions of people. So when we think of the word host, what word do we think of? Kind of like welcoming. So if you guys don't know what host means, it's like if I have a party at my house, I'm the host, I'm inviting everyone, I'm welcoming everyone in. So that does make sense because we have that evidence of that word welcoming. Choice F, unaware of their coming destruction. I understand how that could make sense because a lot of the poem is talking about their destruction, but nothing here necessarily is referencing that in these lines. It's mostly just talking about how they're swinging along and they're welcoming and they have missed the dance and drive before the sun. It's not really talking about how they're unaware before or after in the poem as well. Choice G, lively entertainers who are amused by the everyday concerns of people. So in these lines, there's nothing that mentions humans and or their everyday concerns, so you can get rid of that choice as well. And choice H, too proud to reveal their pain. So nowhere here does it necessarily say that they're in pain. We want to look really specifically about what the personification in these lines suggest. So not necessarily the wider picture of what's happening to the mountains, but like specifically what did the author describe these mountains as in this specific passage? And they describe them as, you know, swinging along and dancing and stuff like that. And they use that word welcoming. So the choice that's the best for this one is E. Okay, so the rest of the answers for the practice test are going to be in the link below. And I hope that you guys kind of go through them. If you get questions wrong, do not worry. I understand we're out of practice. If we were in person, we would do much more of this, but go through it and use these review questions as a reference. And, you know, when you get a question wrong, look at the other answer choices, use process of elimination and figure it out. Pretend that you're making this video and you're explaining to me why your answer was wrong. But yeah, keep at it. We're going to have another video next week and more practice, and stay safe, and bye guys.